Weekly summary, but instead of just summarizing the last 7 days, let's summarize the whole February. We're now into March, but there's been a lot of action happening in February. Let's summarize all the major averages, indices. What are the major themes that we saw in February and how they're going to impact March and beyond? Are you ready for it? Then let's go. Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. I'm Micha Stocks, and on this channel, which is called Stock Talk with Micha Stocks, we summarize every week things that happen in the stock market that will impact our investment. This is not financial advice, only education and fun, whatever it would be, entertainment point of view. We have currently 2.8K subscribers, and if you enjoy this, you can go back and click that subscribe button and then get notified every week that a new weekly, in this case monthly, summary will be posted. Let's start. Major averages. Russell with a best month in, I want to say, more than 12 months. Russell up 4.2%. NASDAQ up 4%. S&P up 3.8%. And the Dow Jones up 1.2%. Year to date, S&P up over 8%. NASDAQ up almost 10%. Russell up only 1%. So Russell is the IWM, still has some catch up to do. Major averages, amazing beginning of the year. We're going to talk about that. That's one of the themes for this year. When we look at the indices themselves, we see that the only indice that ended on the red was utilities. We saw consumer discretionary. We saw industrial, materials, financials. All of them up more than 3% for the month. This was a very strong month across the board, which brings us to one of the themes, actually. The rally is expanding beyond the Magnificent Seven. If some of the comments, of the noise that was heard, is that the Magnificent Seven is pulling the S&P 500, from an earnings perspective, that is true. We're going to see that in a second. But from a contribution, or actually from the widespread of the rally, more and more companies, more and more stocks are contributing to these gains. Crypto, something very, very funny. Before we, let's talk about crypto and then I'll tell you what's funny. Bitcoin is up for the month 42%. Ethereum is up for the month 45%. And the funny thing is, I looked back at our channel a few weeks ago on the 2024 weekly summary, when January was just at the beginning. This is more than 1 month. It says 1 month ago, but it's actually almost 2 months. You can see by the weeks. The title was No Santa Rally and No Bitcoin ETF. It was clear that the Bitcoin ETF is going to be dramatic, and this is how dramatic it is. Bitcoin up 42% for the month. Ethereum is up 45%. Different reason. Bitcoin inflows to the ETF. We're going to talk about that as one of the themes. Ethereum up from the hope that there will be an Ethereum ETF. When we look at natural gas and crude oil, we see crude oil up by 6% and natural gas for the month down 9%. This is our heat map. You can see green across the board, basically, for the month. Google and Apple with their problems. We're going to talk about them later on. But all the rest, or all the big companies, have seen tremendous gains. And if we're talking about the Magnificent Seven, Nvidia, one of the major themes, of course, up 25% for the month. Not for the year, for the month. Meta up 24%, Amazon up 10%, Tesla up 6.8%, Microsoft up 2.6%, Google and Apple, again, as we mentioned, on the red side. Fear and greed. I don't remember such a long stretch of us being both greedy and extreme greed. This is usually a good recipe for a correction, for people being over marginalized and then getting a margin call, of course. Be safe out there. When we're so long at greed and extreme greed, usually it brings us to a point where we feel that the market will never correct itself. Everything is going up. And that usually is a recipe for getting a correction. And now, let's talk about the first theme of February, and actually from the beginning of the year. Year to date, thanks for Charlie Bilello for sharing this this table. Year to date, we saw 15 new all-time highs for the S&P 500. The record is 77 all-time highs. That happened in 1995, but usually 15 is almost very close to the average. And if we keep on this pace, we will surpass the 77 all-time highs. I don't believe we will surpass that, but you know what? You can never know, because when you start with all-time highs, the market is kind of a machine that wants to be all-time highs. This is regardless of the fact that there are over $6 trillion in money market funds, short duration, medium duration, long duration of bonds, and they didn't even get into the stock market, which means that at the end of 2023, investors opened the letter that they got, if they opened the letter, and saw that they made 4 or 5% gain on 2023 when the market ripped for 25%. Year to date, the market already is 8% up. They're still at 4% on an annual basis. This might create a huge run for the market, at least at the first, maybe at the second correction, probably not right now. And that brings us to this long list that was published, I think, Thursday or something like that. It's an anecdote, but it shows exactly what happened in February. More and more companies are contributing and are achieving 52-week highs, meaning that it's their highest traded price for the last year, some of them all-time high. Now, when you keep thinking that it's only Magnificent Seven, only technology, we can go over a few here, which are not Magnificent Seven. They might say they're using technology, but they're not considered a technological company. Take Costco, JP Morgan, American Express. Of course, all of them have technology to do their business in the best way, but they're not considered technology. Home Depot, Lowe's, MasterCard, Wells Fargo, Waste Management. There's no technology there. GE might be technology. AbbVie, that's healthcare. We have AutoZone, Bath and Body Works, Barclays, Constellation Energy, Cummins, and more, which means that we are getting a wider than expected rally, and that, of course, contributes to the all-time highs again and again and again. And another contribution to the all-time highs is, of course, the largest companies in the S&P 500. We see right now a big competition around who's going to be number 3. So number 1 is Microsoft with a $3 trillion market cap, then Apple 2.7. Apple's declining, Microsoft is gaining. Those two are still far from the patch. But look at the others. Between Nvidia, Amazon, and Google during February, we saw something that we haven't seen in a long while. Nvidia conquering the third place with $2 trillion market cap. I remember when they were $1 trillion. That was a year ago. That's crazy. Amazon, Google, then you have Meta, Berkshire, Eli Lilly, and between Broadcom and Tesla, you can see them fighting for their market cap. This no doubt was one of the biggest themes in February, trying to conquer the third place. How did that happen? This brings us to the second theme of February, and actually since 2024. Nvidia and AI. Nvidia posted earnings during mid-February and saw a 265% increase in their revenue year over year. This report, you'll see it in a second in the numbers. It was phenomenal. It's an earnings that no one remembers. We're going to talk about, I'm going to show you in a second. But to summarize it, NVIDIA's CEO, Jensen Huang, said the following: computing as it was will not be from here on. If you had a general computer, you're now going to accelerating computing, mainly focused on the cloud and data centers. And if you haven't understood it and played around with it, generative AI is here to stay. We're going to talk about that in a few more slides here. But generative AI and AI and AI. And now when we look at their earnings, look at their revenue. This is NVIDIA compared to Intel. Look at the green bars revenue of data centers versus Intel. This tells the whole story of where NVIDIA is and where Intel is. NVIDIA, on the day after they reported earnings, they gained the biggest amount of market cap than any company did. $247 billion of market cap in a single day. That's a McDonald's. That's an AMD. That's the size. It's completely crazy. And of course, that brings us to the second contender for AI. Microsoft keeps pushing more and more features, more and more use cases to their Copilot, which is the combination with ChatGPT and Microsoft Office. And now they're focused on finance. Copilot for finance. Why do you need so many people to crunch numbers if Copilot can do it for you? They're taking Copilot and they're taking their capabilities in AI and importing them into GitHub, which is a tool or an app that developers use in order to develop faster. And now they're going to enable companies to get all the data underneath those models to be the company's data, which means that developers can develop faster. Everything is going to AI. And someone that wants to open everything up is Elon Musk. End of February, March 1st, submitting a case against Sam Altman and against OpenAI, saying the founder letter that he, both of them, founded OpenAI is not the one that OpenAI is not the path that OpenAI is going toward. When they founded, both of them, when they founded OpenAI, Elon Musk contributed about $50 million to the foundation, and they wanted AI to be open source. Everyone should use it to make sure that mankind will survive in the world of advanced AI and the fact that computers might take over. Elon Musk sees more and more of OpenAI becoming closed AI instead of open source, closed source, and working for profit instead of being a non-profit. And he wants to stop it. Now, this lawsuit is very interesting because let's take a one step back. In these kinds of use cases, these kinds of lawsuits, usually the company sits with a person that's submitting that lawsuit, and they pay a few $1 million, and that's it. In this case, what do you pay the richest person in the world? So discovery is going to be very interesting. It's going to be probably one of the themes we're going to talk about in the next few weeks, few months regarding AI. But does that mean that OpenAI is beyond the threshold that cannot be stopped, and that's why Elon Musk is doing that? Or it's just envy of where they are? Nobody knows right now. It's going to be very, very interesting. And that brings us to Apple, who has not said anything about AI yet. Actually, they tried not to say both letters A and I together in the same sentence, but they had no choice this week. And Apple's Tim Cook, their CEO, doesn't have any more choices, and he started saying that they're going to break new grounds with generative AI this year. Everyone's focused on June or July when they have the WWDC to do that. And to take it one step further, Project Titan, the Apple car project, after 10 years and millions of dollars invested in that, is stopped. And everyone that was working on it is now being diverted to work on generative AI or an Apple generative AI. Does that mean that Apple is going to lead the way or take the leadership, or they're going to stay behind? There's one thing that I'm very optimistic about Apple. Everyone has this thing in their hand. If this thing, of course it doesn't listen to me. Yeah, I'm sure. But if this thing knows exactly what I'm doing, every day, every minute, and they can manage my life instead of me, they might create another leg for their growth. We will see that probably in the next few months. That's Apple. Intel trying to get back on the horse. Currently, they're not considered as an AI contender, but they are currently aiming to deliver 100 million AI PC chips by 2025. The market doesn't give them any recognition for AI. I wouldn't try to do something against the market. The market usually knows better, but maybe eventually Intel will be connected with AI. And of course, this brings us to Google. Google or Alphabet, with their biggest flop so far, their scale inside Bard, which is now Gemini, in creating pictures, took too much steps forward and created pictures or images that no one can understand how they were originated. This is an example of an image created by Gemini Google, of the Pope. You probably can identify that this is not even close to being the Pope. Or a Swedish woman. As you can see, this is probably doesn't look like a Swedish woman. There might be a Swedish woman that looks like that, but you wouldn't expect an image of a Swedish woman to look like that. And there are a lot more examples of the German Nazis being black. As we all know, they tried to kill all the black people in Germany in the Nazi time, and other crazy example. Even major figures in the past, all of them black. So Gemini stopped producing images, and they're rolling back. They need to do a huge cultural change in the company. Otherwise, they're going to lose, and Google is going to fall like a rock. It should be amazing and crazy time for Google. And that brings us to Sora. OpenAI Sora changes the way studios, changes the way content creators, even like me and others, are thinking about video. The ability to generate this video that is running here, or even this video that we're seeing here, generated by a simple sentence, a simple line, in this case, a simple prompt saying several giant woolly mammoths approach treading through a snowy meadow. They're long, woolly. You can probably read this whole prompt. And after writing the prompt, clicking enter, this video was created. Now 11 Labs has incorporated the right music and all of that. Everything that is generated around AI is becoming crazy. And it seems like this train is a bullet train in Japan and not even a slow train, not an Amtrak. So if you're not into what is going on with AI, put yourself in front of ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot, play around with it, try to break it. It's not going to break. Play around with it, because this train has left long ago, and it's going so fast that every month the progress is crazy. Sora is not yet available for everyone. It probably will be available in the next few weeks, few months. But I heard that last week, a big fund was supposed to invest around $900 million in production studios, and they halted that investment, saying, we don't think that movies and studios are going to act the same way as they did in the past. Now, is it true? Will they invest? Will they not invest? That's a different discussion. But this is going to create something that we haven't seen before. So AI, Nvidia, and all the rest, second theme. Third theme, we talked about it earlier. We have to talk about it now. Bitcoin ETF. Let's start with the basics. What is Bitcoin? So there can be a lot of answers to that. At least from my perspective, the way I considered Bitcoin is a collectible, and the way it's being valued is the price that someone will pay for it. When you have a collectible and someone will pay for it $62,000, then that's its price. It's not a utility. It's not a currency. It's a collectible. Now, I'm not going into whether it's a commodity or not a commodity. I'm not going into that. But from the easiest perspective, if you understand what is Bitcoin, it's a collectible. And currently, a lot of people want to collect it. How many? Billions of billions. How do we know that? Because what you see here is the amount of money inflowing into the 9 or 11 different ETFs that are buying Bitcoins. And when money is going in, they are buying more and more and more, because that's what they do. Until money will come out, until the outflows would be bigger than the inflows, this will impact the crypto market and Bitcoin only one way, and the way is up. Now, whether there will be a correction to around 50 or 55,000 before the next leg up to around 100,000, if we'll get there or not, that's a different question. But currently, when you look at these bars, these are daily inflows. Last week, there were more inflows in a day to the Bitcoin ETFs than the NASDAQ, the triple Qs. That's how crazy this is. These are amounts. They became one of the top 10 ETFs by inflows. and by market cap. That's how big this is. And this, no doubt, is one of the themes. Now, when you ask yourself, who is buying? Is it the retails like Micha Stocks, or is it someone else? The answer hides actually in Google Trends. When you look at Google Trends and you search Bitcoin, you can see that in the past 5 years, the retail, who is mainly using Google, of course, there wasn't a big spike in Bitcoin, especially not lately. Which means that if I go back to the inflows didn't come from retail. It came from family offices, institutions. The big money is buying Bitcoin. Now, if it's so bad, why are they buying it? Think about that. And currently, when you want the numbers to talk, these are the numbers, and this is the inflow. No doubt a huge theme for February, actually from the beginning of the year. And if we want to summarize the earnings, thanks to Fundstrat, we have the summary of the earnings, the current earnings season. The S&P, or actually the net income, is up 7.4% Q over Q, or year over year actually, for Q4, meaning that the S&P, or the companies in the S&P, in aggregate, all the 500 are growing their earnings. So we get earnings power. We get a lot of multiple expansions. We see more and more companies contributing to that. And that, of course, creates the rally that we're in right now. Those were the themes for February and since the beginning of 2024. What's going to happen in March? Fed. Last Fed meetings that were released 21st of February talked about the fact that inflation probably reached peak. Rates reached peak, and we are supposed to see inflation keep falling and rates starting to come down. Will they come down this year? Maybe not, maybe yes, we will see. What we do know is the timeline for March, or actually March itself, is going to be mainly a macro week. The reason is because most of the companies already reported. When we talk about macro week, we're going to use again Fundstrat's data to look at macro. So March 8th, we're going to get February jobs report. Up until then, the red line here is the S&P 500. Currently, there is still gas in the tank, at least according to different measurements that Fundstrat is doing. So we still have gas in the tank. We will keep going up. Then March 12, we are getting into the February CPI. This is a monumental day. Why? CPI comes hotter than expected. Markets are gonna start correcting. CPI comes cold, mainly that inflation is falling like a rock. Maybe finally we'll see shelter falling. That will give us the path to keep going up on the S&P 500. But currently, one of the interesting things is most of the price targets for all 2024 have been reached already. So the strategists that thought that we're going to be at 5,000 on the S&P, 5,100, maybe even 52, well, we're there. What are they going to do now? CPI, crucial, and that brings us, as usual, to our chart. This is the S&P 500 chart, or the ETF that follows it, the SPY. You can see that we are currently going from bottom left to top right in an orderly fashion on the S&P 500, but we are close to this yellow line. This yellow line it's not fully parallel, but it's the highs. Every time we reach this line, when you look at the Japanese candlestick, I'm not going to complicate it too much, we get a correction. And that's why most of the technical analysts are expecting or a stall here or a correction. It might be 3, 4, 5%, and might be even stronger than that, depending on the dynamic of the correction. And every time we reach the lows, this bottom yellow, we start going up. Now, this means that we're in a danger zone. Does that mean that the market is going to correct tomorrow morning? No. But it means that we are in a danger zone, and it means that everyone that's already invested needs to, kind of be calm and understand that corrections might happen and use them for your benefit to invest more and more. This is not financial advice. This is just education and entertainment point of view. I hope you enjoyed this monthly summary, maybe even year-to-date summary, whatever it was. major themes, all-time highs, AI, crypto. I don't remember what was the fourth. I will meet you again next week. Same time, same place. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.